Welcome to Limitless Travel. Today's episode. Quick facts about cities. Part 1. Rio de Janeiro's name means River of January in Portuguese. It doesn't actually refer to any of the 200 rivers running through the state. It comes from a misconception made by the sailors who first arrived at Guanabara Bay. They thought the bay was a big river mouth. It was only later that they realized it wasn't. Despite that, the name stuck for the state and city, Rio de Janeiro. Mexico City was once the capital of the Aztec Empire. It went by a different name at the time, Tenochtitlan. At the time, much of modern Mexico City was a lake. Tenochtitlan's heart stood on an island in the middle of the lake. Floating gardens and artificial islands surrounded the island. The city even had a bigger population than European cities at the time. Aztec records show that before the Spaniards, 300,000 people lived in Tenochtitlan. The first skyscraper in the world was in Chicago. This was the home insurance building, built from 1884 to 1885 in Chicago. It stood only 42 meters tall, with 10 floors. It's small today, but at the time it towered over every other building. There are always ravens in the Tower of London. The story goes that Britain will prosper only if there are ravens in the tower. Its origins are unclear, but it seems backed by circumstantial evidence. Shortly before World War II ended, the two ravens in the tower vanished. The tower's keepers brought in replacements, but it was too late. Some blame the fall of the British Empire after the war on the ravens' brief disappearance. Today, there are 6 ravens living in the Tower of London, by River Thames in central London. Delhi and New Delhi are the same city. New Delhi is actually a district of the city of Delhi. Delhi as a whole is India's capital, but New Delhi has government buildings. These are Parliament House, the Central Secretariat, and the Supreme Court building. Moscow's Kremlin is the only medieval fortress still in use today. Kremlin is a Russian word that means fortress in a city. In that sense, there are more examples of the Kremlin in Russia. But it's the one in Moscow that's usually in mind when talking about the Kremlin. Moscow's Kremlin goes back to the 11th century and grew with the centuries. The castle's walls include 5 palaces and 4 cathedrals inside. The Grand Kremlin Palace is also inside the walls. It was once the Tsar's home in Moscow. Now it's a museum and the home of the Russian president. Thank you for watching Limitless Travel. And don't forget to like and subscribe.